The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and here we are on 1.1, solving simple equations. Let's start at the beginning. What's a variable? What are we doing here? So, you remember these back in the day, back in the good old days, you would say, what number goes in there? What plus 3 equals 5? And you'd say, well, it's 2. That's what it is. 2 plus 3 equals 5. I know that. And so then later on, we get to this. And this is algebra now. Now it's okay, x plus 3 equals 5, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing as over here where you were saying, what goes in the box. What number plus 3 is 5? So x is our variable. It varies. It changes each time. It might be 2 this time, but then 7.5 next time. You just never know. That's why he's a variable. It changes. And so what we're doing here is we're saying what number does x represent? Well, it represents 2. So instead of just putting a 2 in the box, I now am more proper than that, and I say x equals 2. That's what it is. And if you can ever see what it equals, you don't have to absolutely write out every time. If you see it right away, if it's something this simple, you can go ahead and write the answer. I'm not going to take off points for not showing a little step here. Now, if it's like 3 steps and you go from this super complicated question to the answer, we're going to have some issues there. But that's overall what we're doing. We're figuring out what number does x represent. Okay? Moving on. Let's talk about some basic steps to solving. So first thing is we're going to pick sides. And what I mean by that is we're going to be looking at a couple different things here. You've got variables. Okay, that's one thing. And you've got numbers. Okay, I could say constants here, but I feel like if I just said numbers, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? Just plain old numbers. Those are the two things that are going to be involved in all of these solving problems. You're going to have stuff with variables. So like on this one, 2x, that's 2 variables, okay, 2 x's. And then we've got a number. And then on this other side, we have 4 x's, that would be variables. And then -5, that would be our number. Okay, so we've got 2 different things, and we want to pick sides for those 2 things. One side will be for the variables, and the other side will be for the numbers. It's just good kind of organizational way of setting up these problems and giving you a plan of attack. After that, you're going to remove what doesn't belong. So if I say this is my variable side, I'm going to get rid of whatever's not a variable. And if it's my number side, I'm going to get rid of whatever's not a number. And then our last step is we're going to multiply or divide. So these equations, we got to keep them equal. So I put a line down the middle to remind myself, you've heard this before. Everything you do to one side, you have to do to the other, right? It's like a big balance. So if you add to one side, you got to add to the other. You subtract to one side, you subtract to the other. They start out perfectly even, so you got to keep it that way, okay? So with this, I usually like picking the side with more of my variable as my variable side. So this has 4 x's, and that's more than 2 x's. So this is going to be my variable side. I'm just going to write variables up here. Okay, and you should be doing this along with me. And since that's my variable side, this is going to be my number side. So as I go through here, this is a variable, 2x, that's a variable. A 3, that's a number. 4x, that's a variable. And -5, that's a number. Okay, so that just kind of tells me, all right, so those are what I have here, but that's what the sides are going to be. And so what I want to do is I want to get rid of what doesn't belong. That's step 2. So if this is my number side, well, the 3, he's good, but I want to get rid of the 2x because he's not a number, he's a variable. That's 2 variables. So I'm going to subtract 2 x's from both sides. Everything I do to one side, I do to the other. I like to put a big line here to just kind of show, okay, I'm going to do that operation, and then see what I have left. So 2x minus 2x, that's gone. I don't need to put anything there. And then I just have 3. And then on this other side, I have 4x minus 2x. Well, that gives me 2x, and I have a negative 5 to bring down. Now I look again. I say, okay, that's my number side. He's got just numbers here. That's good. Wonderful over there. Now let's look at the right side. This should be my variable side. So 2x, those are variables. Very good. Negative 5. He can't be there because this side is meant for variables. So let's add 5 to both sides because I need to do whatever's going to get rid of that minus 5. So inverse operations, remember those? We're going to do the opposite of whatever's there. So it's minus 5, I'm going to say plus 5. Add 5 to both sides, I end up with 8 equals 2x. Negative 5 plus 5, that goes away. And now if I know 2, now if I have 2 next to an x right there, we know that means 2 times x, all right? Or 2x's. And if I know 2x's equal 8, well then one of them is going to have to be 4 because I would divide it, right? I divide, this is my last step where I divide or multiply. Usually it's going to be divide, but in general you're going to do opposite of whatever the operation is. So if this is 2 times x, I'm going to undo that by dividing because we want to essentially get that x by itself. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 4 equals x. Okay? That's your solving. Okay? Now let's go to one more where you have to set up an equation and solve it. Okay, so we've got this very well drawn quadrilateral. What is that? Quadrilateral. Oh, quad. So quad means 4. Lateral sides. 4 sides. That's what that means. And so I know that anything with 4 sides here is 360 degrees. So that means if I added all these up, 98 plus 110 plus 63 plus x, those are all my angles. Interior angles are the angles on the inside of a shape. I know if I add those all up, I'm going to get 360. Okay? Now, so you might be saying, well, wait, where's my, it doesn't look like the last one. It's all right. I've got a lot of numbers all here together. So what I want to do first is combine all of those because they're all on the same side. If they're all on the same side, you can combine those. So I'm going to get out my trusty calculator and I'm going to do 98 plus 110 plus 63 equals, and I get 271 plus x equals 360. Now, if you've only got one thing on the side, okay, see how I've got numbers over here? That's going to be my number side. And so if I want this to be my number side and this to be my variable side, I'm going to get rid of the numbers over here. Minus 271, minus 271. Let's again get out the trusty calculator. 360 minus 271, and that gives me 89 for my last angle. And so x, my missing angle is 89 degrees, or you can say x equals 89 because there's already a degree on the x, so either one's good. Okay, so that's how we write an equation and then solve it. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.